Got bad? Follow the Dodge County Sheriff's Office Most Wanted on dailydodge.com. Brought to you by QBS Law.
It is time for Community Comment here on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Charlie Dern is in our Daily Dodge TV and Slumberland studios with Andrea and Annette, who have more information on the AAUW Community Summer Read. Charlie?
Thank you, Corey. Welcome into today's Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV. I'm down here in the Daily Dodge TV studios, so you can watch us on the stream as well as listen in live on the radio. I'm here with Annette Camps with the American Association of University Women, as well as Anita Strike, the Information and Community Services Librarian over at the Beaver Dam Community Library. Thanks so much for joining me, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So we're here to talk about the AAUW, so the American Association of University Women, their summer reading program, the community reading book, which is Milked, How an American Crisis Brought Together Midwestern Dairy Farmers and Mexican Workers. So, Annette, we can go in a lot of different ways with this. It sounds like a really interesting book with a lot of multiple stories inside the book that are detailing portrayals of farming communities in Wisconsin and Mexico and the connections that are brought together. I understand that in September there's going to be a final event where the author of the book, let me get the name here, Ruth Conniff, she'll be present for the event.
Right.
And so everybody's welcome to join.
Absolutely. This is the third time that we'll offer a program as a culmination of the summer read that we started 3 years ago. And each time we've had really successful interaction with the community for conversation about subjects that relate to justice and hatred and prejudice and bringing our community together, not accusing them, of course, of those things, but understanding where it comes from and how we can respond to it. And our overall committee theme selection is unity and community, so that's what this is about. Our first year, we featured the book So You Want to Talk About Race, and then the second year, we featured the book Gift of Our Wounds, which was by Pardeep Kalika and Arno Michaelis, who Pardeep came to talk to us, and we had standing room only, and his father was the victim of the sick shooting in Oak Creek several years ago, and they wrote a book about the response to that. So that was extremely well attended, and we had breakout sessions so that people could talk about the book, talk about what the speaker had to say, and that's what we'll be doing again this time with the book. It's a long title. Milked, How an American Crisis Brought Together Midwestern Dairy Farmers and Mexican Workers. Very relevant to our Wisconsin situation.
It really is, and that seems like a really beautiful final event where everybody can come together, whether they read the book or not,
right,
and talk about the event, or talk about the speaker, talk about what was going on, the deeper themes of the book. I'm curious, how do you go about choosing the books?
Well, in this case, one of our members had read the book and thought it would be perfect for our goals. So it kind of evolves, comes basically from our committee. Also, we have 2 book clubs within the AAUW organization, and we work very closely with the library. I think Anita has recommended a book or 2 in the past, or more than that in the past. Several are usually presented to us, and then we take a look. We even talked about expanding the read in terms of offering books regarding the subject of migration to people of all ages, including children. And I know Anita at the library has a number of books that are relevant for all ages. It got a little bit overwhelming to do a campaign about that, but we are encouraging reading books because they're books for children as young as 4 or 5 years old about the migrant issue.
So, Annette, had contacted me and to see if we could have a display at the library of the book, because so many people were asking. And we have several copies of the book in our library system because we're connected to 30 other libraries. But then we had exhausted that amount of books, so we went ahead and purchased some more so that we had some available for people in the community to read, as well as I think AAUW is going to different service organizations, and they have purchased books that they're giving to the service organizations to pass around in their organization.
Yes, that's an important part of the whole discussion, is that thanks to a grant from the Beaver Dam Area Community Foundation, we are purchasing about 50 books, and representatives not only in our committee but general membership, AAUW, are taking on the responsibility of visiting one or two community entities, organizations, businesses, to introduce the book and ask them to share it with others. We've found that to be a really successful way to getting the community involved. So the access to the book, there unfortunately is not a paperback version, but the library, as Anita has said, is a great source for a number of books. And then we're hoping the ones that we have distributed will be shared as much as possible before September 18th, which is when the program will be. But as you mentioned, it is not required to read the book to come to hear Ruth talk about her experiences both in Mexico and in Wisconsin.
So I'm really curious about, you just mentioned the author Ruth Conniff, who is editor-in-chief of the Wisconsin Examiner and has appeared on Good Morning America, C-SPAN, NPR, and MSNBC, and so she'll be there at the culminating program. I'm curious, that must have been a hard thing to book her, because I've done some guest booking here at the station. She seems like she's pretty busy.
You know, it was surprisingly easy.
Really?
Thanks to Ruth. A fellow member of the committee contacted her by email, and she was open to meeting with us to talk about a presentation. We met with her for about an hour. We had a lovely conversation, and she offered to do the program, to do a presentation free of charge. And so very generous of her. It's very close to her heart. And she writes excellent editorials or columns about a number of social issues. She's very well informed and a great researcher.
Interesting. Wow. So, well, I got to read the book, because I'm curious now about all of the experiences that she had. And what we were talking about before we went on is that it's not just one book from front to end of one story.
Right.
It's a lot of different anecdotes, anecdotes, I think is the word I'm looking for, testimonials that are shorter, that are more digestible, at least in my opinion. So that's really interesting. I was wondering if you had any spots in the book that you thought were more impactful than others, or something that really stuck out to you?
Yeah, well, one of the sharing she did is a program called Bridges, and it was set up by a Spanish teacher from Alma, Wisconsin, who saw the need while she was helping farmers translate because so many of the workers did not speak English, and much of the initial work with them was done just by directing through hand motions. So they became very desperate and found her, and she became so engaged with the whole process and the positives that she created a program called Bridges, whereby Wisconsin, or I think Minnesota's too involved, but dairy farmers basically, who go down to visit the families of their workers. Because one of the drawbacks for the migrant workers is that they're at risk if they travel back and forth. So because the Wisconsin farmers become so attached or related so much to their workers and appreciated them, they would take supplies, and also mostly they wanted to see what was happening on the Mexican workers' farms, because their primary goal in working here is to help their own families at home, which in some cases are quite destitute of opportunity.
And Anita, you had shared with us that in some of your research at the library, you found different things about the migrant workers in the 70s in Dodge County.
Sure. So I was going through all of our archives in the lower level of the basement and kind of getting them organized. I think that was back 2015 or so, and I stumbled upon a big box of photographs, and then I started to do research of people. There was a research student as well as librarians, and they started this pilot program in some of the migrant camps connected to the canning factories. So they would take boxes of library books out to the canning factories, and all the kids and families were swarmed around and couldn't wait to get the books. And I wished at that time that the pictures could talk to know more about the story. So I did a little bit of research and found some stuff in the newspapers, but I definitely want to track down more about the stories.
Well, and people that are curious to learn more know exactly where to go.
Right. Or maybe someone's listening that was part of that program and they'll stop down at the library and tell me more.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned earlier that my husband, who has passed, was an art teacher, and he and another teacher from Beaver Dam went to Columbus every summer to teach the children of migrant workers art primarily. And he enjoyed that, and it was a very productive program, I think.
One thing that I think we should have gone over is that you're not too late to join this
Oh,
group.
absolutely.
It's not too late to start reading the book. If you haven't, maybe you got a little head start on it, but I haven't started it, and I could still go and join now.
Absolutely. Most people haven't started it. They're
Right.
just receiving the books now. They have all summer, and it can easily be read in bits and pieces. I mean, it has a lot of information, but like you said, it's a very easy story style to read. So, and it's not it doesn't take very long to read the book either. So I think it'd be quite enjoyable and certainly informative to build our awareness and educate, because we hear, so many stories. But Ruth actually lived for a year in Mexico, and she, like I said, she was a great researcher and good resource.
Yeah, and again, I'm here in the Daily Dodge TV studio with Annette Camps, the chair of Summer Read Program over at the American Association of University Women, and I'm also joined by Anita Strike over at the Beaver Dam Library as the Information and Community Services Librarian. If you have any calls or questions, 920-885-4446 is the number there. I'm Charlie Dern. Should have started with that. I'm Charlie Dern here with everyone. I did want to talk more about the group overall, the AAUW overall. Could you just tell me more, maybe a blanket of umbrella of what it is?
Yes, it's one of the oldest organizations in Beaver Dam, I believe, and it's an American Association of University Women. And at the national level, there's a lot of effort to expand the opportunities to become members, but it was started out as an organization for, obviously, university women or women now who have had an education beyond high school. But like I said, we're definitely working on expanding the membership. But in the meantime, this is one of our major tasks. As I mentioned, I think our committee working toward the goals of the national branch is called Unity and Community. And typically, we meet every month during what we call the school year, I guess. And then we have interesting programming at each of our meetings, always with a focus on educating our membership in our community. We've had a very diverse program. The last one we had was a demonstration by one of our members who's into ballroom dancing. But we've also heard about the playground movement and had a tour with Laurel Corral. We've toured the high school. We've just
Did you
had
go to PAVE recently, too?
Yes, that's right. We did. We just visited PAVE, and our membership through those experiences have offered volunteer, hours to different organizations. We donate to food pantries. We give scholarships, which is one of our primary goals, to young women each year, and we've expanded We have one fundraiser, which is a basket auction in October, and those have been very successful. So we've been able to award, I don't know, between 2 and 4 scholarships each year for young women who are going on for any further education, whether it be college or technical school or whatever.
When does that application open up for that scholarship?
Let's see. I'm not the head of that
Oh, right,
committee,
that's
so
right, that's right.
I'm not absolutely sure. But I'm sure it's early spring.
Okay.
Yeah, and the high school actually facilitates that, so it's sort of under their umbrella.
You just have the money for it. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it,
exactly.
Got it. So I thought it was funny when you said that you guys kind of operate during the school year, and then there's the summer book club, because that's growing up. That's how it always was, school, and then I would always bike over to the library in Whitefish Bay, and they would have a summer reading program where you'd get different coupons for whatever local business if you made it to a certain stage. So Anita is here with a lot of the summer programs going on at the Beaver Dam Community Library.
Right. So this read really ties into our mission at the library, is getting people engaged in literary activities, reading, and experience in the world. So our reading program actually kicked off June 1st, but it's not too late to get, we have a bingo sheet this year. So it includes reading for 20 minutes as one spot, but it also includes something like making a wish on a dandelion or going to a local festival, which we have the Peony Festival this weekend. So it's not just reading, but it's kind of engaging in the community as well. And that'll go through July 27th. And each week there's a new bingo sheet. So if you didn't get in on this week, if you were traveling, try next week, and each week you're eligible for prizes.
That's great.
Yeah,
Those are always my
'cause
favorite.
We love
Sounds
the
like
prizes. Yeah.
Get out and be active.
Yeah.
Well, what else is going on? It seems like there's one thing that Corey Sparks and I were talking about, because we're helping out in the news department. There's always so much going on at the library.
There is always
I don't
something.
know if I'd have known about a library that was this busy, or maybe
Really?
I wasn't paying attention.
Maybe
I don't
not.
know.
Yeah. I think nowadays most libraries are trying to engage with programming, because it gives you a reason to come to the library if you're not so into books, but you want to engage in something else. We are kind of like a community center almost. We have the books and we love that, but we also have engaging programs. So there's for all ages and abilities, we have different programs. So we have kid programs on Thursdays. We have in the afternoon, there's always a different entertainer or bingo or something to do. And then on Fridays, there's Friday Fun, and that's all ages and abilities, and that's at 11 o'clock. It usually goes for about an hour right before lunchtime, and it's all different crafts and different things. We also have movies going on, different times. We have a kid movie going on, actually, I think today, this afternoon at 2. And then we have our Saturday cinema, which we have once a month. And then this weekend, I should put a plug for this weekend. As part of the Peony Fest, we're doing a Friday Fun on Friday at 11, and that's making kind of peony-colored butterflies. And then we're having the Peony Tea Party from 10 to noon, and that's on Saturday. So you come dressed up in your fancies, and we'll have treats and tea and some other things to do, activities to do.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, you, Sarah, Sam, and everyone over at the library certainly keep busy, and thank you for all of the work.
Definitely.
And I have to mention when Anita said it's truly a community center, very true. And I had the privilege attending information about the new plans for making it even more a community center with new spaces for the library and a fundraiser. And I was very impressed with the plan. It's very exciting.
That's wonderful. And before we went on the air, Annette, I did want to bring this back up, because I did say, like, wow, like for a summer reading book, like, there's some heavier topics here, but you said, and you made it clear that the AAUW, American Association of University Women, it's not about the politics here. That's not what it's for.
No, not at all. In fact, that fits in right with the quote I was going to read from the book.
Perfect.
She's just shared in her introduction and sort of gives you an idea of what the book is about. A shared set of agrarian values has helped build the relationship between dairy farmers in Wisconsin and Minnesota and undocumented Mexican workers. That relationship is a hopeful sign that the toxic narrative of division and resentment that has dominated in recent years doesn't tell the whole story. As Sean Duvall, who is the interpreter I talked about earlier, says, people are more than political labels. We have more in common than we realize. That is what this book is about.
Beautiful. Unity and community, right?
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, is there anything else that we wanted to cover before we get off? I know that I'll make sure to get you guys scheduled again before that final event where we can go over everything again. And
Also, Ruth will be open to an interview at that time.
All right, nice. All right, so I'll get to interview her as well. Again, we're talking about Milked, How an American Crisis Brought Together Midwestern Dairy Farmers and Mexican Workers. The culminating event will be on Saturday, or
No, Wednesday.
Saturday. I meant to say September. September 18th at 7 o'clock p.m. over at the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater, 117 West Maple Avenue in Beaver Dam. Well, Annette and Anita, thank you guys so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure.
Keep
Thank you.
reading, everyone.
Keep
it's
reading.
really
Yes.
important.
That was my New Year's resolution, was reading more. It's not going well, but
Good.
I promise you
Read
guys.
this book, please.
Yeah, I'll have to. Well, thanks again for coming in. Again, to Annette Camps over at the American Association of University Women and Anita Strike at the Beaver Dam Community Library. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. And that'll do
Thank
it
you.
for today's community comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.